Are you ready?
Agility from the champion.
Oh, deep
six! That could be it. Delivers this deep six.
This is episode 171. I am joined now by the returning from last night, Joseph Aguila. Joseph, how you doing tonight?
I'm good, man. I'm good.
I forgot to mention, Raw was so good last night that I forgot to tune into my Boston Red Sox, who've been on a roll. They beat the Miami Marlins tonight. They have won 4 in a row. They are 16-1 since the end of June against teams above 500. Anyhow, Raw was so good. WWE program generally, for the most part, has been really good lately. That I've been so locked in. I just, knowing that we had our show anyway for Monday night, I'm like, I needed to watch Raw. I felt like we were going to see some pretty good aftermath from last week, which we will discuss further as today and tomorrow go along. But anyway, tonight's topic, we are going to talk about the contract signing of Oba Femi and Bron Breakerr. So let's set the stage really quick. Bron Breakerr has not been himself lately because Oba Femi has been on this rise in which he probably should have won the WWE Championship. He probably should have cashed in his King of the Ring stipulation. But again, we need to forget that this is a scripted show. Scripts are never perfect. They are probably going to hope that we forget that Oba Femi won the King of the Ring and is technically still number one contender. But anyhow, I'm trying to move past all that. And we are getting Bron Breakerr versus Oba Femi. And they kind of set the stage in a promo tonight. And we'll talk about the banter that they had back and forth. But Bron Breakerr is basically saying, like, hey, while I was out, you basically weaseled in and took my spot. And then been on the rise, and everything's been handed to you. And we finally get to hear what's been on Bron Breakker's mind these past couple of weeks and why he hasn't been himself. And of course, any contract signing that we always see on any wrestling organization's television show, it just ended in a brawl, tables breaking. And Joe, I wanted to ask you, first off, what did you think of this segment that we saw tonight between Oba Femi and Bron Breakerr? And who do you think wins this Sunday night main event? Where do we go from there?
So the last couple of weeks, I think that because we've gotten a lot more talking than actual physicality between the two of them. Yes, they've brawled and whatnot, and there's plenty of brawling left to have done, but I think the thing that stands out to me the most is Oba Femi on the mic, and like his mic skills. I can't believe, like, he is 100%. I think ready for that main event picture as the person who is not only bringing it in the ring, but can also deliver good material on the mic. He impersonated Bron Breakerr last week, and this week he calls him an angry orange man. And he's getting this crowd. The crowd is so on Oba's side with all of that, and I think that he deserves a lot of credit for that. Having said that, I think, in my opinion, Bron Breakerr needs the win. Will he win? I don't know. Maybe there'll be some foul play with the Vision. But the other thing that stands out to me, other than Oba Femi calling Bron Breakerr an angry orange man, is the tension that I see between Bron Breakerr and Paul Heyman. you know, again, there's this air about Paul Heyman still with the Vision, even though everyone that he really envisioned as the Vision, 2 out of 3 of them are gone from the Vision, and it's just Braun Breaker. And there's really not a lot of support from the Paul Heyman side, according to Braun Breaker. And that you saw that tension kind of boil over at the end of the contract signing, which I think is the seeds that are planted so we can see a transition of Paul Heyman now being the manager or advocate or whatever you want to call him for Oba Femi. You also see a little bit of involvement with the Vision, and maybe the Vision will get involved at Sunday Night Main Event, and maybe predict a returning Bronson Reed to kind of get involved at some point with this Oba Femi Bron Breaker ordeal. I don't know what that looks like, but I know that is another monster like waiting in the wings, ready to take the stage with these two huge behemoths of men.
Yeah. And, to your point, the with the Bronson Reed, and I think that's a good spot where you have him return, is that you're probably gonna go to Oba Femi and Bronson Reed. And you're probably gonna it's more than likely Bronson Reed's gonna cost Oba Femi. Bron Breaker wins, and Bron Breaker, gets to carry on for the next number of months, saying that he's the future. And even though we know how he lost, it's still gonna give Bron Breaker momentum regardless. But we obviously know where they're going with Oba Femi, and that is Royal Rumble, winning, and then challenging Roman Reigns at WrestleMania 43. We know this is happening.
Yeah, I like that. I am on board with that, and I think that's the correct trajectory for Oba Femi. Especially, you want to hold on to as much heat as you can from that Brock Lesnar rub from the summer, and you want to carry that into like they're carrying it with the story, talking about. I loved the element of Oba Femi telling Braun Breaker, "Hey, if this was any other time, they would be calling you the future. If you were up against in 2000s and going up against John Cena, yeah, you're the future. And I liked how he didn't even name Roman Reigns. He's like, whoever was the top dog in 2015, like calling a shot early, not even worth mentioning his name."
Yeah, so let's break down the promo a little bit. We had basically Bron Breaker asking Oba, like, what have you done to earn the fact that you can call yourself the future? And then he goes on to say that he had WWE in the palm of his hands 8 months ago, and then he says he got hurt. And Bron Breaker's not necessarily lying there,
Yeah,
because in fact, and I believe you were at that Raw, right?
yeah,
In Brooklyn, Braun
yep,
Breaker versus CM Punk, which was
yes,
a great match, by the way, in which I believe WWE should have pulled the trigger on Braun Breaker to be new champ. Let's start a new storyline and fresh build to WrestleMania. However, hindsight being 2020, good thing that Braun didn't win, because he got hurt and he would have not been able to defend it going into WrestleMania season. So that could have been a disaster in itself. But again, um, Braun Breaker had a lot of momentum, so he was not wrong there. And then he says during this time frame, Oba Femi weaseled himself into taking that spot. Um, but Oba Femi's been white hot. Like, he's been white hot with the fans. Everybody's singing Oba and doing the Oba March. The kids, people of all ages, doing the Oba March and yelling Oba. Um, and And then basically, Braun Breaker says, "You're in this position because I got hurt and I am reclaiming what rightfully belongs to me." So, okay. They gave us a reason as to why. They gave us the why as to why Braun Breaker is going after Oba. However, Oba Femi was already gaining momentum even before Bron Breakker's injury. So, and then Oba says, "You're an angry orange man," and I guess just ripping on his like tan.
Yeah.
But and then to your point, he says, if he would have debuted in 2002, maybe you'd be the face of the place, or if you would have broke in around 2015, maybe you would have been the face of the place. But and then you be the future, but he goes on to remind Bron Breakker that, hey, listen, we're in 2026, and you have the unfortunate privilege of going against me. And he says because he exists on the main roster, his chances have gone down. He outclasses Bron Breakker in every single level, and that he's going to show Bron Breakker who the ruler and the future is. And then you see Bron Breakker come back. He says he loves the fact that everyone loves you, Oba, and uh, and he loves the fact that his name gets chanted and everyone thinks you're gonna roll over me. Um, but he also goes on to say to Oba, I'm gonna force you into deep waters, and that you will be sorry that you thought you could compete with me, and that I will own you and spend the rest. You will spend the rest of your career living in my shadow, um, and I will always be the guy known as Bron Breaker, the guy Oba Femi could not beat. Then we see the other element here of he gets in Paul Heyman's face for a couple seconds, and then we see that whole thing where like is Paul Heyman like on Braun Breaker's side? Is he maybe leaving Braun's side, whatever the case is? But then we see Braun take a cheap shot at Oba, and then before we know it, we see Braun and Austin Theory attacking Oba, and then Oba puts Theory through the table, and that's how that segment ends with Braun Breaker going away. So the table's set. The table's set for Oba versus Braun Breaker at WWE Sunday Nights Main event, which I'm looking forward to. But can I tell you something? I honestly think that this is going to be a future WrestleMania main event.
Yeah, definitely. This is like two main event level guys who are not right there just yet, but they're right there, and they both this both together are the future, and it's just will be amazing to see where they go from here. First stop, obviously Sunday night main event, and yeah, I think that there could be a possibility of Paul Heyman turning babyface. Like he's been so embroiled with, being the advocate of beasts and then the tribal chief and then the vision. And now I think that especially having that really positive moment at the end of the Brock Lesnar Oba Femi match and then having that sign of respect for the last several weeks, I think is a great way for maybe the vision to turn on Paul Heyman. As you see, there's already tension there, and having Oba Femi defend Paul Heyman, and that maybe solidifies their bond. And now you have Oba Femi and Paul Heyman as a baby face going into, Money in the Bank, going into Royal Rumble season. It could be cool to see crowds. I mean, they already love Paul Heyman when Paul Heyman does his stuff, does all his stuff, and so to be able to see him be a babyface manager, I don't think we've ever really seen it like that.
We may have for a short time when Brock Lesnar in 2002.
Next big thing, and everyone was all
when Lesnar defeated The Rock. Lesnar started gaining momentum where the fans were starting to like him and it was becoming organic. And then you had the feud with Lesnar against Big Show, Survivor Series 2002, Madison Square Garden, when Paul Heyman turned on Lesnar, costing him the championship, and Big Show defeats Lesnar, and Paul Heyman went right back to being a heel. There's been a lot of rumors and talk and chatter that quite possibly that Paul Heyman could potentially even go with Cody Rhodes, and then I've also heard rumors of a potential start of a new version of the Four Horsemen.
Oh wow. Who would you put in there? You Cody Rhodes, Oba Femi?
Well, I would have thought maybe again, and this was like on WWE radio, so um I would have probably thought Royce Keys since CM Punk since Cody Rhodes and Royce Keys have that camaraderie from AEW, but that's a whole nother story we'll get to in another moment. But I would say right off the bat, maybe you would have what's his name? Big Cass is like the enforcer. And then maybe you would have Ricky Saints
Yeah, some
close, and
AEW
then
guy.
and then maybe you can reintroduce Arn Anderson as the mouthpiece, or you have Paul Heyman, and then there's one other guy that I really can't think of. Again, I would have thought Royce Keys, but that's not going to happen. But anyhow, that was just a rumor being floated around the WWE universe on WWE
You
radio.
could throw in Ethan Page there.
Yes, you can do that. You would have to have Ethan Page come over on SmackDown for sure. But
Yeah.
that could easily make sense too. But we'll see where they go with Paul Heyman. This is very interesting. So for now, what we're seeing on TV is just a show of respect with Paul Heyman and Oba. Oba just took out his beast. So Paul Heyman's showing him that respect. So there's no alliance there, and maybe there won't be. But it is enough for us to have us thinking like, okay, what if something happens here? Maybe Oba, Paul Heyman is playing Oba right now as we speak, and then Paul Heyman interferes and helps Bron Breakker win. That could also happen too at Sunday night's main event. Also on Sunday night's main event, we have Cody Rhodes versus Randy Orton. Cody Rhodes has been on a crusade for a number of weeks, wanting that rematch with another match with Randy Orton. With everything that Randy Orton has done lately, with Randy Orton costing Cody the championship match at WWE SummerSlam. So, and we've noticed a little bit of maybe a very subtle character change. Cody's been a little bit on the angrier side lately for a few weeks, so we'll see. We got our eyes on that to see what that leads to.
Get mad.
Yeah. What else do we got on Sunday night's main event that we haven't talked about? I know there's Lil Yachty. Lil Yachty is going against Baron Corbin, and if Lil Yachty can last 5 minutes, then Trick Williams gets his rematch for the U.S. title.
I think it's gonna go to 4 minutes 59 seconds.
Oh my gosh. And Lil Yachty's apparently been training for quite a number of weeks, even months, for this possible moment to happen, and it's finally happening.
Yeah. Well, good. Hopefully he puts in the work. I mean, it's pretty entertaining to see Baron Corbin back. I like that he's still carrying around that furry title.
Well, Baron Corbin just said it's getting a shaving. Yeah, so that furry is going to be gone.
Oh, you know what? I really like. I mean, I don't know how you're going to do it, but I really enjoyed the poor man Corbin shtick that he was doing, and I think that would be kind of cool to see against the Trick Williams, who's very like got a lot of swag and all this jewelry and fur coats and all this stuff. Going up against the poor man Corbin is kind of would be funny, but love to see Baron Corbin back and doing his thing.
So Sunday night's main event is shaping up to be something else. But for those of you guys that are watching, be sure to catch our next episode, which will be 172. We'll be talking about the aftermath, no pun intended, of Monday Night Raw with Solo, LA Knight, and the Bloodline. A must-listen to episode, and that will be on Wednesday. So be sure to check that out. Catch you guys later.
Agility from the champion. Uh-oh! Oh, 10-6! That could be